Welcome again, my Divide Bridgers, to another episode of the Bridging Divides podcast. Super excited to bring you another episode with our guest here, Christine Sather, the better looking half, was what we were saying with Jeremy. To our guest here, you'll notice that we had the same background in a couple episodes, wearing the same shirt because we just did back-to-back episodes. The Sathers are, oh my gosh, they're just awesome. So we were talking beforehand, we've kind of seen each other and kind of gotten to know a little bit about, what the other does and that sort of a thing just through networking and different things like that. One of the things that really caught my eye with you and Jeremy because you guys are in the same networking group, is you guys were just like, somebody had whispered something or he did something dumb, which I don't, yeah. And you just kind of kicked him or, just kind of this playful, just kind of thing. And it just, from the outside, just seeing that you guys just acting like buddies after what he said was 20, it's been 20 years now. It was awesome. And just such a beautiful moment. I was like, I got to talk to them. And so we're super excited to have you. And it'll be a lot of fun. So we want to just kind of jump in. We were talking a little bit before about kind of how this typically goes and kind of, with our podcast. And we like to talk a lot about the principles that have helped you be successful. Mm-hmm. But we want to know also what it is that you do. You're talking to Jeremy, you guys are very entrepreneurial minded and have had jobs and different things that where you've worked for other people, but now also you have several ventures where you are in that entrepreneur mm-hmm. mind. So you had mentioned a couple different things that you do. Can you go into a little bit about those so that we, as the audience, can kind of hear about what you do?
Yeah, so I am a health and wellness girl. So I like to kind of link arms with whoever is looking for help. I work with ages pretty much 4 and up.
Wow, I didn't know that you went that young.
So I really like to kind of figure out what it is that people are looking for. So I sell vitamin supplements through Advocare International, but I also own my own business called Fully Equipped. And that's kind of designed so that I can kind of help come alongside people and say, hey, let's get you the tools you need to be fully equipped for whatever your undertaking is. Most of the time, my typical customer or client would be like a busy on-the-go mom, trying to function and trying to figure out, like, how can I feel my best, but also manage my household and, be a good wife and come alongside and be with my kids and all that kind of stuff at the same time. So I kind of do all the things. I do the nutrition and the menu planning and the workouts and the vitamins and all the things combined that pulls me into that category of like, hey, I'm a health and wellness girl.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
No, I love that. And you started with Advocare?
Yep.
And then it's a product, I would imagine. I mean, that you sell, the vitamins you said, supplements. But I like that you took it one step further, or a couple steps further, I feel like, and really to just kind of make it more of a kind of a holistic approach where it's let's look at all of the things that we need to do.
Yeah, I feel like that's where my heart is. Like, absolutely, I can sell some vitamins, and I am passionate about the ones that I sell because they've helped me specifically with my own health. So that's why I'm passionate about the ones that I actually use. But I feel like you can only do so much with vitamins. You need to figure out, are you managing your stress? Are you sleeping good? Are you getting exercise? Are you eating well? Are you taking your vitamins? The combination of all of that helps people understand, like, oh, I need to be healthy, well-rounded, not just take a few vitamins and call it good. That's not how life is.
Yeah.
It's not how it works. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like I started with Advocare because I needed my own, like, just schedule and routine after having my babies and all that stuff. And so I started. It was just something a friend of mine told me about. But then I knew that all the other things needed to come into play in order for me to actually, like, see success.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I kind of was like, hey, if I can add this to this, then all of a sudden I can actually be a health and wellness girl, not just like hey, here's some vitamins.
Yeah, beautiful. No, and if that's something that you guys are interested in, I mean, then we'll make sure that we put your tags and all your
Yeah,
contact
absolutely.
info in the description, so you guys can reach out to Christine if you'd like that. So you had mentioned, and this is kind of a perfect segue into the next part that I kind of wanted to talk about, was the success principles that you learned that allowed you to kind of to grow to the next step. Can you take us through that journey a little bit? Like what were those principles of success that you applied to be able to grow?
Yeah, so I think my story comes back like years ago when I was in high school, so many years ago. I got super sick. And so I was sick. I spent actually missed 72 days of school my senior year of high school.
Wow.
In the hospital, not knowing what's wrong with me, what's going on, all of those things. So I
Goodness.
kind of walked through this valley of trying to figure out what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm young, I don't feel good. I was on my way to go play college volleyball. I'm an athlete. I don't know how to manage this.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything. Like, I never thought for a second, what should I be eating in a day?
Right.
Or, I knew how to work out and play volleyball. That's like what I knew what to do. And so after kind of going through that valley and coming out on the other side through college and having my kids, I started to understand that kind of the only way that I could really find success is learning my own body and learning all of the issues that were going on inside were due to my lack of sleep or managing stress or not eating good. And the combination of all of those things now allows me to have this huge heart for someone that's like, I need help.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, you need to maybe eat a little bit more broccoli in your life, but you also maybe need to like manage some things going on in your heart too.
Interesting.
So I think that's what's maybe added that passion for me is because I've walked through it and I was at the point of like, I don't know where to turn. I don't know what to do. I'm trying this and this and this and this, and nothing was really fitting until I really figured out, oh, it's all of this combined.
Yeah.
That I need to have this healthy lifestyle, not just, hey, take a probiotic.
Yeah. It's not
like,
it's not gonna
no,
cut
that
it.
wasn't the answer.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, take a probiotic, but
Also do
these things.
No, I think that's
So-
I think that is such a great principle in general. I love me personally. I mean, I'm fascinated with. I really love like Eastern philosophy, and Jeremy and I were talking. I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ and all that good stuff. But I also love Eastern philosophy because a lot of it is about balance and finding that equilibrium, right? And not neglecting any of the areas of your life that help you
Right.
to succeed,
Mm-hmm.
right? The spiritual is just as important as the physical. I mean, they I would say that they're two sides of the same coin, but it's not that black and white. They're all mixed together, and I think that's so important. So on the health side, looking at things like stress, like you said, sleep, and nutrition, to be able to really figure out, well, how can I be healthy, or how can I have more energy? Oh my gosh, like how many of us can use more energy in our life, right?
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. I told you guys I've got 6 kids under 10. Energy is definitely a hot commodity in my house. Whenever we can get it or replenish it, I think is we try to take advantage. You'd mentioned something that I think it was just an awesome principle of how you get to this level where you're at, where you're successful, where you're helping other people and you're doing what you're passionate about, but it comes as a result of the fires of hell that you've endured, right?
Mm-hmm.
That going through that furnace, if you will, is what kind of turns you into this person where you can then offer hope to
Yeah.
people that have gone through what you've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share some of those experiences where you've been able to help some of the people that you've helped to say, hey, I've been here. Let's go. Can you go into that?
I feel like that there's a little bit of that maybe does set me apart a little bit from, I mean, nowadays it's common to say I'm a health and wellness coach.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
And I get that and I understand, and But I feel like there's a different level of understanding, like what does healthy look like to you? And so for me, a lot of times when I always have like a consultation first, like, hey, let me get to know, would I be a good fit for you as a coach or, whatever. And I feel like a big part of that is really understanding the heart behind why someone really felt led to call me or to reach out. Because I'm not your typical, like, hey, take this, eat these things. It's so much more like, walk me through your day. Like,
check the sale. You're like, sweet, got the money.
Yes. No, I'm so much more like, okay, walk me through your day. Do you have babies at home, or are you working overnight as a nurse, or are you a teacher and your schedule looks like this? Because then I can relate to say, okay, this is what you have going on in your day to day, and that's where I can come in and say, all right, if this is your end goal, now let's backtrack and say, well, maybe where are the red flags in what you have going on that you could kind of pull from and figure out, where am I not putting a priority? So I kind of feel like, okay, what area of your life are you not pursuing excellence? Because our especially as women, we're spinning like 95 plates, right?
Oh my gosh.
We've got these hats on all the time, and our minds are going, and there's so many things that are going on that a lot of women specifically, and maybe more say that because that's a large part of my clientele, they're feeling like heaviness just because they don't know how to take 5 minutes and say, hey, it's okay. It's not really selfish for me to take time for me. I just don't know how to. And so I feel like because I live that life, and I live that, like, I truly live a healthy lifestyle. You can see it in my day-to-day. You can see it on my body. You can see it in my joy. You can see that I'm naturally healthy and choosing to be healthy. It allows people to connect with me because I can say, hey, I have been there. I get it. I'm a mom of 3, or my husband's coaching and gone all the time. I can relate to those things. I used to actually be a teacher, or things like that, where I can say, this is what this schedule looks like. This is how I can help you, and this is what I've learned through my own experience.
100%.
So I feel like there's those times where sometimes someone just needs someone to listen to them and say, this is what I'm doing. And it can be as simple as like, hey, stop skipping breakfast. Or you're craving sugar because you don't eat enough protein. Like, it could be as simple as like, hey, let me just give you a quick tip here. You maybe don't need me, you need some more protein.
Awesome.
But then also it could be a long journey of kind of figuring out, hey, who do you think you are when you look in the mirror? And speaking to the heart behind that too. So I don't know, there's not a one size fits all in what people even think is healthy.
No, 100%. 100%. I think that's a super great principle. Because there's, like you said, there are any number of people that will give advice on whatever and that sort of a thing. But I think that with really any entrepreneurial venture, if you're selling a product or a service or anything like that, I think that being in it, having experiences is really where the trust is built. It's like, well, who are you to tell me, how to do it? People wouldn't trust me to build their house. I'm not a contractor, That's not the world I'm in, But having been through all of those trials and different things that you've been through, and then being able to say, well, this is how I've been able to get through them, adds so much validity and power behind what you're trying to do, and that goes with any business. Your husband mentioned you guys have lost 100 pounds between the two of you.
Between the two of us, yeah.
Holy cow! Like that's.
How did that even happen?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
No, and
cool.
I think that for so many of us, we as far as like weight goes, I'm definitely heavier than I was when I was in high school, by about 60 pounds. But it's just something that I think that kind of can get away from a lot of us because we're not consciously choosing. I think that whatever difficult situation that we are put in, a lot of times comes gradually, and it comes from not consciously making a choice to live differently.
Right.
And so when we find ourselves at that wall where we're like, what the heck? I just feel blocked in. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. Depression, stress, lack of energy are all present, we have to say, okay, well, I'm going to start living intentionally.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make a choice to change whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, how have you with your clients been able to help them make that decision, to make a choice, to be conscious of change?
Yeah. Well, I definitely think one of my gifts is encouragement. So I don't know how I can help people believe in themselves, but it's something that I'm good at. I don't know how. But I feel like I am so much more realistic. I'm more like, take what you're doing that's good and let's make it better. You
Build
don't have to
off
go
of where
from
you
good
are.
to perfect, because perfect is so overwhelming that it never happens and people start over every Monday.
Yeah.
It just is a constant frustrating cycle. But if you're saying, hey, maybe this week I could get to the gym twice and I haven't gotten to the gym in years.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a huge win.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate that. So focusing on celebrating small wins over and over again. But also I feel like I do a really good job of giving them tools. Like, you need to know, if you want to start something, I don't even know where to begin. It's so overwhelming. You go and Google something and you're like, should I do intermittent fasting? Should I do keto? Should I do bars and shakes?
Oh
Should
my
I
gosh, everything.
just over exercise? It's so like heavy that people are like, okay, forget it. I don't care that much. And so I kind of say, okay, let's be real. Where do you shop? Where do you get your groceries? Let's talk about what's on sale. Let's talk about what's good for you, what's not good for you, what, when you pair foods together, what it does for your body, for your metabolism. Instead of saying you have to take this, you can't eat from here to here, don't eat this type of food. It's more of, let me show you how, instead of a no-no list of things they can't do. Because I feel like that's where it gets so hard for people to understand, of like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I'm like, well, if you have no time to work out, are you still moving around your house? Great, let's count that.
Right.
And figure out what else you can do with nutrition, or what you're lacking for vitamins, so we can figure all those things out.
Yeah.
So I feel like I do a good job of helping people feel like they actually have the tools. Like, here's 25 recipes. They're easy, they're simple, they're going to feed your whole family because you have picky kids, you can eat it all.
And I love that, and I
stuff.
love that you have that perspective too, because one of the things that has been difficult for me is that a lot of things that I have found to try to be healthy and everything is for me.
Yes.
But I have a whole brood.
Yeah, your kids are
at
like, I'm not
home.
eating this.
Yeah. Well, actually, surprisingly, my kids are if anything, they say, "Can I have some?"
Yes. That's so
Like
awesome.
my kids, man, I literally thank God that He has given me children that are not picky eaters. They're like, can we have salmon and broccoli tonight? I'm like,
You're like,
yes. You know, but a lot of the times it's like I'm trying to get on track for me, but it's like my whole family. You know, I need to feed my whole family, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a unique perspective too that I think is really great. One of the things that Jeremy said when we had met.
I'm always like, what did he say?
Yeah, it's so funny. I was like, oh boy, you know, those when you hear those words, you start to get worried. My wife's the same way, just like, oh, what's my husband saying?
Yeah, I love it.
No, but one of the things that he said, this is a good thing. He said that you excel at the relationship building, because I'm very much for the positivity and the psychology and the success principles and really getting down to the root cause of how we can succeed, because I feel like that's the foundation of everything. And so that's really where I like to focus and where I like to study a lot. But one of the things in sales, because I'm also interested in that, how different ways to connect with people and how to overcome challenges and obstacles and that sort of a thing. But one of the great things that I have seen of the greats, that are great at selling, are great at building a business and everything, excel at relationship building, which is a huge focus of BNI, which, again, you guys know I talk about, oh my gosh, probably reference it in every single episode. But he said that you excel at that principle.
He loves me.
Of building the relationship. and honestly, that's the biggest part for me, because I feel like That's the richest that I can be. If I've been able to, I can sell as much of anything or make as much money, which I definitely have a goal to, don't get me wrong, but if I have done so at the expense of the relationships along the way,
Right.
it's empty.
Right. Agreed.
Right. So how has that been for you? You said it's kind of just this unconscious thing, but how have you implemented relationship building into being successful at your business? I mean, you kind of went into a little bit about it, but like, how have you developed that and gotten better and better at it? And kind of what can we do and learn from that so that we can apply that to whatever we're trying to succeed at?
Yeah, I feel like I always think, how am I leaving a lasting impression on somebody? And I think this in my life, not just my business, but
Yeah.
I think of maybe a big reason that people continue to choose me or continue to stay with me is partially because they know I care about them, but I am who I say I am. And so
The authenticity.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like if you can be genuine and not like, I actually care if something happens in your family, even if you haven't lost 12 pounds with me, like that kind of stuff. I genuinely have that heart for people, and I value so much that people feel loved by me. And so when I'm
I love
working
that.
with somebody, I want them to know that I actually care that they reach their goals, because if they can reach their goals with me, all of a sudden their home looks different.
Yeah.
And that's the end goal, which to them, I'm like, hey, what's your goal? I want to lose 20 pounds. Great. I want biceps. Great. Okay, but really, if you really think about it, what is your actual goal? It's to feel something different. It's not to lose 20 pounds.
That's kind of the end result,
Yeah,
not like the core.
Absolutely. And
cause.
so I feel like, I part of my being genuine is just the home I grew up in, and my parents are very genuine people, and
which, oh my gosh, what a blessing.
Yes.
Not everybody has
So
that.
I feel like part of it is like, well, I inherited some of those things from the way that I grew up, and the just positive outlook I have on life and just belief in people. I just genuinely care. So I feel like building relationships is kind of like I have this little like, I don't know, pep about me that just makes me want to like hug people and love them. I always say it's borderline ditziness that I have, but it's what people are, maybe what draws people to me, because they know that my heart is there and it's real.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sugarcoat things, and I am who I say I am, whether they see me in person or they see me online or whatever. They know I'm real and I'm legit. And I think that there's so much value in just someone being like, thank you for the love. I can't get my son to eat broccoli ever. Like, they want those real, genuine comments to say, hey, I don't want to be the weird person at the holiday party not eating any dessert.
Right.
So what should I do? Like, I can relate to that. And so that adds a value that goes deeper, and it builds a relationship, because you can laugh about it and say, you're right, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be that person.
Yeah, I don't want to be the person that people are like, well, she's not eating again. Or, things like that seem ridiculous. Those create relationships because they can relate to saying, these are the things that are going on in my head too.
100%.
And so I don't really know what it is. I do things out of the ordinary too. I feel like that maybe, someone, I tell people a lot, like, you absolutely can go to a store and buy vitamins. You absolutely can, but you're not going to get a handwritten note just saying, hey, I think you're awesome, in the mail from that store. But you're probably going to get that from me at some point. You're going to get that special touch of just saying, hey, someone's thinking of me and actually cares that I'm doing well today.
It's interesting. One of my favorite books is by Orrin Claff is his name. Back when I was focused more on doing sales. So I've been in customer service and sales for 17, 18 years. I've been pretty much my whole career, from when I started working. But one of the things that in his book called Pitch Anything, he talks about neurofinance is what he calls it. Pretty much the framing of being in sales situations and everything. One of the principles that he talks about is being detached from the outcome. Is that when you reek of desperation, then people can tell And so it's like, oh, I need you to do this for me. Otherwise I will fail. It's like it's a huge turnoff.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I really enjoy reading those things, but sometimes I think a little bit, I think that people can come at those types of books with the wrong intentions, because they're like, ooh, what's the next tool I can use to manipulate people into, so I'm just I'm gonna act like I'm this way. But what's so cool though is that those are real principles.
Yes.
And there is a psychological component to it. But when you are genuine about it,
Yeah.
it adds this whole new level to that principle that people go, oh no, I know that I'm not being manipulated, I'm being taken care of.
Yeah.
So if you are genuine, all of those tools that you can read about in all the guru books and all that other stuff, all of a sudden they go from a means of getting what you want to just a means of breaking through the ice to be able to more effectively help who you're trying to help. And I think that speaks to what you're talking about. One, about being genuine, but two, about saying, look, I want to give you what you need. So if that's not with me, then it's fine. If the trust isn't there yet, then okay. Or if you're not in a place where you can afford this or that or whatever, great, I want to give you what you need. And then you're focusing on that relationship.
Yeah.
So if and when somebody is in the position to where they can work with you, then they want to, because they already feel that care and that love that you genuinely have shown for them. And so I always love to hear people like yourself that have that approach. But then also I can look at all of these different books that I've read about, this is how you do this and this and this. And it's like, it's funny because I've worked with some people where it's like, well, why isn't it working? It's like, it's because it's because it's fake.
Right. Right. And you can smell that very far away. Yeah. I feel like you can see it on someone if they're not genuine. It's pretty evident pretty fast, unfortunately, which I kind of hate, but I feel like it's true, but there are these principles where if you're just saying, hey, I'm going to walk in, this is my job, end of discussion, I'm more like, man, this is my business. It's not my job. It is my business.
Yeah.
And
it's your life.
Yeah. It's the heart behind like what we do. Like our Advocare, our tagline is we build champions. And it's like, well, what does a champion look like? Because a champion to me is not mediocre. And so I don't want to bring mediocre to my business, because I don't think that is what someone that's signing up to be a champion is looking for.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I feel like there can be both sides of, some people are just very successful, and I always make a joke. I don't even know, there's some days I'm not successful, but I still got to talk and laugh with some ladies and enjoyed that. And it was
success.
Great.
That's success right there. Yeah.
It brought joy to me, and that was great. So I don't know. I love what I do, and I love being able to connect and build those relationships. There's just value in it to me. It feels like, all right, I'm leaving an impact, and genuinely, this person knows I care.
Yeah.
And that's what matters to me in the end. So
one of the interesting things that I learned is that Advocare had started as an MLM.
Yep.
But then they're not anymore?
No.
Is that correct? See,
Correct.
that I didn't even know that was possible. I think a lot of people can let me know in the comments below if this is you or not.
Like, oh, what are you gonna
a
say?
lot of people with MLMs, it's a big turnoff, and
Yeah.
I know a lot of amazing people that operate within that kind of sales structure, and it can work very well.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can also use it to disguise ill intentions, right? But I didn't even know that it could change.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how did that transition go? How did that work?
Yeah, I feel like I was still new in the understanding of what multi-level marketing was versus what we are now.
Yeah.
And so I can't really speak to like, hey, what all happened? I can totally speak to the feeling of when someone is like, oh, you do this, in the feeling of them immediately thinking, I'm a multi-level marketing company. and I don't want to talk to you. I can feel that
because there's that turn off.
immediately.
People have been burned so many times. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's just the history of that we've
Of
been
the
through,
term.
unfortunately, of the term. Exactly.
MLM. And I get that. And I truthfully, I love what Advocare does now, because I just get to love people. I get to say, how can I help you? I don't need to do any of the other things to build a team, or I can just run my business.
It becomes about the product.
Yes.
And
yes.
and that's the focus, as opposed to, oh, you're gonna try to recruit me.
Yes. And I love like, there's not subscriptions. We don't have these monthly monthly shipments coming to our house, and I love that kind of stuff, because I can say, hey, I can help you for $24 if you want me to help you.
Yeah.
I can help, like,
There's no pressure to be like,
No.
oh, I need to sell, like that desperation
Yes,
that we were
yes.
that we were talking about before.
yeah. But I understand, and I can see a lot of times I'm like, listen, I am not a multi-level marketing girl, but I am absolutely direct sales.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely am. And I kind of say, I get if you feel like a little worried about that, like you've got a wall up, I get it, because that's what I've been doing for the last
Yeah.
11 years of my life. And so it's kind of like you have to know that when I come into it. I'm like, look, I'm a direct sales lady. I will claim it 100%,
Yeah.
but I know how I do my business. And so I don't feel negative or bad about saying that, because I love what I do. So I don't build a team. I just have customers that buy vitamins from
Yeah.
me, and I get to coach them and help them, and I love it.
Yeah, it's
for that reason.
it's become a tool in your arsenal, as opposed to the like the central focus of what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like, if
Yeah.
that's what we need, then let's do it.
Yeah.
If it's not, then let's focus on one of these other tools that you have.
Yeah.
Which, again, I love that you have built on what you've done, because I think that so often, we're focused on a goal that we get to it and we're like, oh, well, what now? But I love hearing stories like yours where, you can say, well, this is great and I've learned how to do this and I'm doing it well. What's the next thing?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's great. So just kind of as we land the plane here, we're kind of getting to the end of our time. One of my favorite segments is the Positivity Prize Fighter segment, which I love hearing about this, because positivity is a big thing in my life, which you guys have all heard a lot about. I've talked a lot about that. But it's not all happy all the time. There does exist a thing called toxic positivity, where it's you're not looking at the realistic side of things, and I think that realism and positivity can definitely go together. But that being said, the Positivity Prize Fighter moment is about when life knocks you down, are you going to get back up and keep fighting because you are confident that it's a momentary thing, that it is worth fighting for still, that you will get through it and you will be better on the other side of it, right? That's what positivity really means to me. It's about that grit, that tenacity and perseverance that you have to keep going. And you have mentioned some pretty big ones for you with just kind of your journey. But is there a time where you can think about a positivity prize fighter moment for you, where life just laid you out and it could have been tempting to just stay there, but how you persevered and you kept going?
Sure. I mean, there's probably a handful of things that we go through, and throughout our lives that are where we're in the valley, where we need to kind of overcome. But I think a lot of it is perspective and understanding. I feel like, I don't know, part of being an elementary teacher back in the day is
that's tough stuff right there.
There's a reason that you test a child, and it's to see if they're ready for the next level. And it's the same thing, I think, in our life. When something like bad happens, we're maybe being tested, and we're kind of like, hey, are you ready for the next thing or not? Are you still here needing to learn what you need to go through? And you've heard that, I'm sure. You grow through what you go through.
100%.
But I feel like a big piece of me, and I did not see it at the time, but when I was very sick in high school, I was like, what the heck? Like, what is happening?
Why
I'm about
me?
to go play college volleyball.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ready. I've been working years for this moment, and now, like, I can't. And I had this like, what is going on? What, I don't know how to overcome this, but now seeing it was kind of like the framework of saying, okay, here is what all these tools are going to be given to you because of the things that you've walked through. There's such a good perspective of that. Like if you are going through something and you keep fighting through it, well, it's a great opportunity for you to be able to link arms with someone and say, hey, I've been there. Let me help you along and do that. And like I said, did I see that when I was 18, 17?
It's like, no, you were too
No,
in
I
it.
was
You're,
like, what
you're,
the heck?
yeah,
I want to play volleyball. I wasn't there. But I definitely was at a point of saying, okay, well, something's going to come out of this. I don't know what that is. But now looking back, you start to see like things were at work in my life where all of a sudden all of these things are starting, the pieces are all coming together. And that's perspective of like, okay, I went through this being maybe tested so that I could say, hey, now that I've learned what I need to learn in order to handle these hardships or the things going on, now I can come alongside and the Lord can use me in that way.
yeah,
So that in turn, I can now be a gift to somebody else instead of being like, oh, you were given this tag and this tag and this tag, you're just gonna have to sit in it.
yeah,
Where now I can say, hey, these are all the tags, the health tags I have on me. I'm brushing them off
yeah,
because I'm not going to let a tag define where my life is.
yeah,
And I can speak to that because I lived it.
yeah.
And so I think that's a lot of time when we go through any of those tests
Mhm.
of where we automatically can get to this heaviness and this negativity, we can take that perspective and say, all right, I'm going to learn something out of this. I don't know what it is yet,
Yeah,
but just keep going until you start to see, oh, that's where I was being used.
yeah. And it's thank you so much for sharing that and kind of your insights and your lessons there. I think that a lot of people, it's like, man, if God really existed, why would he let us go through these bad things, or why would he put us through this? And I think that, I don't know, I might be blaspheming here, but I think that he's much less, he's not like he's up there like a kid with a magnifying glass with ants like burning them, like this is going to be so fun to see what I could put them through. I think that struggles are a part of life. That's just what happens. And I think that as things happen, that's a difficult part of life. It's not like he did that on purpose. It's more like that is a byproduct of his plan, and it's an opportunity for us to either turn away from him or turn to him. And I think that when we turn to him, something that you had mentioned before is that he can magnify us to move on to that calling, if you will, that we have that's next. I think that when we go through something difficult, we have a tendency to ask, why me? And I think that question is much less relevant than what now?
Yeah.
What now? What am I going to learn from this? Where am I going to go from here? And how am I going to become better? How am I going to grow? And I think that just speaks to what you're saying. And so again, thank you for for sharing that. And I think that again, we grow through what we go through. And I can't remember where this comes from. If you guys have heard this, then please let me know who said it. But it's a story of this guy. He's trimming a currant bush. And he had to, in order to help it grow to where it needed to, he had to cut it all the way down. And there were bits of moisture that were kind of coming out of the branches or whatever as it got cut down. And he kind of thought to himself, like the currant bush was crying, like, what did you do? I had all this beautiful growth. Like, what did you do to me? Why would you do this to me? And his thought was, I'm the gardener. I know what I'm doing, and I know what I want you to be. And likening that to God and, being able to say, look, I know that this hurts, and I know it might seem like I took everything away, but it's because I know what I want you to be. Yeah. And I know I'm the gardener here, and I know what you can grow into. And I think it's just a beautiful principle.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's, we learn that there is power in in who we are, and that we can, be used in the platform that we have been given. And I feel like you've heard that, like, you don't want to have this, like, if nothing bad is happening in your life, then that means the enemy is not afraid of you. And to me,
interesting. I like that.
I'm always like, well, man, if there's a trial going on, it's because I have power. Like, Christ has given me power, and I don't mean I'm all powerful, but
right, not as a mean to like control people or whatever.
No,
like, but
I'm more of like I'm a football coach's wife, right? So like I think of it as like if Christ is my head coach and Satan's the opponent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he's going to do what he can to defeat me.
Get in your head.
Day. And if I'm not ever feeling like I'm going through any adversity, then he's probably like, well, she's not a threat. And that's not good.
Got the game in the bag.
Yeah, you don't want to have the game in the bag because that means that I'm not a threat. And so there's to me
that's a great way to look at it.
That level of like, well, if there are things that we're feeling are heavy in our home or things going on, it's because Satan knows that when we're together, we pack a punch and it's pretty solid. And so because of that, like the Lord's like, hey, test them. They're faithful to me. So like they can handle it because they know we're going to turn to Christ for those trials. So I feel like kind of that spot of like, well, if there's no adversity, then what am I doing? Am I living mediocre? Because
Yeah.
I want to be living set apart.
Yeah.
I want someone to notice something different in
Yeah.
me. A
peculiar people, I think he at one point described his followers
so
as.
I'm always thinking like, if I have an enemy, what is the enemy trying to do? Because then that allows me to think, okay, what areas of my life do I maybe need to, amp it up a little bit if I'm not growing.
Yeah.
So that's totally a whole nother tangent.
No, I know.
Podcast.
No, I know. I mean, we could totally go on for another hour about that.
I feel like there's that level for me of like, all right, if I'm facing adversity, well, that just gives me the tools to be able to help walk my kids through, or my clients or my husband through something that we're going through together, or someone in our family that's going through some sort of heaviness. Like there's got to be that strength that comes from the Lord to be able to say, hey, I got this, and we can rest in Him. So.
Oh, I love that, and he tells us that He doesn't give us more than we can handle.
Right.
So if we're going through it, we need to have faith that we can go through it because we are going through it. If that makes any sense, And I remember the story of Job. For those that may not be familiar, I'm sure you guys are, but of the story where the adversary comes to God and is like, hey, I'm gonna test Job. I'm gonna do all these things, and he goes, yeah, do it. Yeah. And I always thought, like, what the heck? Like, why would he say that? Like, that's horrible. But I think that what you just said really kind of opened my eyes to that story of, it's like, no, I trust him. I know he can get through it.
Yeah.
So go ahead and try.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that
he says, Job, try my friend Job. He's full of integrity.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Beautiful. And I think that we can apply that, whether you guys believe in God or Christ or not, we can all apply that to our lives of like, no, I know that I can get through this because there's a side, there's another side to it, and you, once you get through it and you get to that other side, you go, oh, then you can learn those lessons. If we can kind of keep that end in mind while we're going through it, there's a tremendous power that can come from that.
Yeah.
So,
which isn't easy, but it's definitely doable.
Oh, yeah. No, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
No, Christine, thank you so much for being on. I've just absolutely enjoyed having you guys, having you and your husband, having back-to-back interviews. If you guys have received value from this and the insights, please comment below on what some of your favorite parts have been and different things that Christine or I have said that have really resonated with you. We'd love to hear them. And remember, guys, you can get through what you're going through and you will grow from it. I know that you will. And I know that can be hard. It's something that I'm personally going through right now with different things in my life and my family and that are difficult. But I know that you can do it. I know that I can do it. We can do it. We can get through them. I love you guys. See you on the next one.